All right, welcome to the third and final series in Microsoft Excel with the little gradebook example. We continue at where we left at the end of stage 2, where we have just a basic little gradebook set up with some various calculations, percentages, things like that. Excel is, as I've demonstrated, very good at recalculating data over and over without you having to do anything but update the points. And so what I'm going to show you with this final example is a couple more little formula things, and then I'll do a quick little graph, and then you can go off to complete the assignment. So I'm going to add another column here called needs help, and that'll either be a yes or a no answer depending on what these grades are. And what I'm going to do for that is take assignment 3 and change it up for a couple of people so that we've basically got some much different grades than we used to have. And I'm going to change this guy as well. So notice now we have an A, a B, a C, and a D, and the class average has gone down quite significantly. You'll notice that Charlie Brown's percentage is now less than it should be. Okay, cool. I'm going to base needs help on the total grade, even though in the real world we'd probably do it on the semester percentage. Once again, I'm going to take the format painter and push that over here to needs help. And so here will be my general rule for this. If the total grade is less than 70%, then I want needs help to show yes. Otherwise, I want it to show no. And you do that with a very simple thing called an if statement. Now, Excel is great at helping you through this, particularly in the later versions. Up here under formulas, and don't get scared by this. A lot of people think formulas and it's math class and oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this thing? Don't worry, relax. All right, this isn't hard. So I'm going to go over here to the logical formula and I'm going to do an if. And when it pulls up if here, what you'll notice is that it says, okay, what's the logical test? And what that is basically saying is, what are you trying to test for? In other words, what do you want to show? What do you want to be the deciding factor as to whether I show you yes or no right here? And what I'm going to say is, if this, and notice you can tap outside this little box here, but if K5 in this case is ever less than 0.7, again, for 70%. And notice, Excel says, hey, it's true. That cell right there is less than 0.7. If I were to do less than 0.5, 50%, it'll say, no, that's false. That's not going to go. So you have some idea right away as to whether this thing's going to work or not. So all I want to know is, if it's less than 0.7, show yes. This student, or this particular student, needs help. Otherwise, hit no. I do not need any help. Okay, and then I hit OK. So the formula itself looks like this up here. As soon as I hit OK, it's going to change to yes because Woodstock obviously needs help. His grade's less than 70%. I'm going to take that fill handle that I demonstrated in the previous couple of lessons and fill it up. And what you'll notice is that Excel can automatically see, hey, no, none of these other students need help. Now let's say Woodstock does much better this time on his final exam and we get an 80%. You'll notice that brings his grade up. He no longer needs help. Charlie Brown, however, does not turn in assignment 5. And notice his grade goes down to 55%. Does he need help? Yes. So this little if statement here, that's a nice way of displaying a yes or a no, or something like a letter grade, things like that. And there are some actual examples in Excel for doing things like letter grades here, which would be the next logical step. If I wanted to do a letter grade column, you don't want to have to do F, B, A, B, which you can kind of eyeball and see. But when you've got just 4 students, it's not a huge deal. When you've got a grade book, though, of, let's say, 30 students, or if you're teaching us in a secondary environment, you've got 5 classes of 30, you've got 150 students, that's not going to be something that's as easy to eyeball as you keep updating these things. So going back to the if statement, I'm not going to take you through the whole entire calculation because if you go to help on this function, what you'll notice is that the Excel help is actually very, very good. it gives you a couple of examples, and it'll say, hey, this might be easier if you copy it to a blank worksheet. And if that's too much for you, just tap the little plus and say, okay, well, how do I copy it over? But you'll notice in Excel Help here that example 3 deals specifically with grades and grade letters and that kind of thing. So this is kind of a clue to you on the actual assignment. I will ask you to put a letter grade in there. And if you're struggling still with the whole if statement thing, go over to the Excel Help and just kind of have it walk you through there. Okay? One of the things that you'll notice on my Excel sheet, I've gone ahead real quick. I paused the movie and did a quick little file save as, and I just saved it as example. I'm hoping that at this point in the tutorial you've made the effort to go through and save it, but if not, please pause because this is a good time to do so. You'll also notice that I've got these nice little vertical lines, these little dashed vertical lines, and that's because I did a quick little file print preview. In Excel, if you go to File and then Print, one of the things that you'll notice over here is that Excel doesn't do a very good job of making this pretty, and it's going to waste 2 sheets of paper right now because neither one of these are going to be helpful to me. So really what I'd like to do is a couple of things. Number one, I want to get this to a point where it's really nice and printable. So I'm going to go back over to the home page and notice as soon as you do the File Print Preview, what you should have in front of you are some of those little dotted lines. What I'm going to do, as long as I'm here in the print preview window, is I'm going to go over to page setup. And page setup says, would you like this portrait? Would you like this landscape? Well, really, I think this is going to be better if I do it landscape. So I'm going to hit OK with that. And notice it does change it to a landscape, but if I go home, you'll notice that my little dashed line now cuts right here. So it's still actually going to print for me 2 different pages. It's going to print all of this data on one page and all of this on another page, which is kind of a bummer. And what I would really like to have happen, I'm just going to fix some borders here real quick. What I would like to have happen is for all this to fit on a single page so that if I have parent-teacher conferences, something of that nature, I don't have to go there looking unprofessional with 2 Excel pages taped together or cut and taped together or something weird like that. And it's actually pretty easy when you have as few assignments as this. I'm going to go back to File Print. And in the page setup, Excel has this nice little option to say, you know what, cram that all on a single page. Now, if you want 2 pages wide, sometimes you have to go 2 pages wide because you just have that many assignments. But I'm going to say cram this on 1 page wide by 1 page tall. There's some other cool stuff in here. You can change up the margins, have it centered on the page horizontally, vertically, put a little custom header in there. Grades as of 10, 15, 2012, or whatever it happens to be. And you'll notice as soon as I hit OK with that, it looks like the borders are not going to print right here, but they will. It's just zoomed out a little bit, and this is a preview of what it'll actually print you on the final printout. But something like this is much, much prettier than something like 2 Excel pages taped together or stapled together, that kind of thing. So I've I've demonstrated the print preview. Last thing I'll kind of demonstrate to you real quick here is just how to do a very simple graph. If I wanted to do something like assignment 1. Excel's graphing is very, very simple. You can take cell A1 and just click and drag all the way down to B5. I'm going to go up to Insert, and I'm going to do just a real quick column chart. You can do a 2D column, 3D if you're feeling adventurous. But this gives you a nice quick little chart of assignment 1 and who did what. Something like this, again, for students, you can eyeball it. I'm doing this really just to demonstrate the graphing parts of Excel. This little box here is called the legend, and it's absolutely worthless for me in this particular graph because it's obvious that these 4 bars deal with assignment 1. So I clicked once on the legend. I'm going to hit delete. Notice how the graph automatically kind of fills in the rest of that window there. With the graph, you can edit these individual little bars if you're trying to make a point here with Peppermint Patty. So with Peppermint Patty, I can click on her bar, and it's just her bar that has these 4 little dots on it. And with that, I can format that little bar. and do some things with it. Peppermint Patty. I think of the color red when I hear peppermint, even though she usually wears green, I think, in the Snoopy cartoons. But that's an example of something that you can do with a real quick chart. And once again, the beautiful part of this is even in the chart, if assignment 1, her value of 45 goes up to 100, notice the chart automatically changes not only the Peppermint Patty graph, but it changes the scaling of the graph as well. So Excel is very, very good at recalculating and re-showing things as you change up the data, as you modify the data. Okay, I'm going to return over here to File and then Print, and notice my little graph there is pretty close to centered. There are some things that you can do to center it exactly, but it's outside the scope of this little video tutorial. So at this point, folks, what I would do is probably not print this off to my printer, but change that up to an Adobe PDF file and then fire this off. And once again, a PDF file is a file that can be read by any computer anywhere. It can be a Mac, a PC, older one, newer one, doesn't really matter. And you'll notice that when I change it to the Adobe PDF, all the borders look nice and pretty here too. So that's a nice professional Excel document. It's a very basic, but it's an Excel gradebook that you can be proud of and something that you can put in an electronic portfolio. So use these 3 videos, please, to complete the assignment. And good luck. If you have any questions, of course, please feel free to email and ask. Thank you.